Okay. Hello everybody, I'm Peter Merritt from Merlin Housing Society. My colleague Adam Boyce is going to do all the pushing of the relative buttons we've got to use. And today I'm going to show you our Business Assurance Integrated Dashboard. It is going to be a whistle-stop tour. Please ask questions if you want any clarifications as we go through. Why Business Assurance? Merlin's a relatively new organisation. We are a large-scale voluntary transfer from South Gloss Council, so 10,000 housing stock sort of size. And I guess early on we spent some time finding our way and how we work with board of directors, and we didn't always get it right, to be absolutely honest. So we have a board we report to and we report performance to them, and we had a risk assurance committee that we also report to, and you go to the board and you report performance, and they say it's not very good, you're showing a lot of red performance measures, and we go and report risk, and everything was green and everything was wonderful on the table. And there's some commonality obviously between the membership, and they said, don't be silly, it cannot possibly be true. So we stopped and had a rethink about how we were actually going to report things in future. And we've come up with this whole concept of business assurance and full integration. So our systems behind the scenes pull everything together. So although risk sits at the centre, it actually links in to performance measures, projects, audit actions, policies and procedures. And those things drive the actual risk assurance that we report out to the board and the committee. So nothing is independent, and it's not based on opinion, it's based on things we can actually measure. And the other thing we try to achieve with this is one version of the truth. So we don't email out management information reports to people. Everybody comes to the dashboard to get their one version of the truth. It may not be right, but at least it's one version of the truth. So everyone sees the same information all the time. So, dashboard please. Bear with us, this is live, we're linked into our back office systems now. And the reason it actually looks like this is because there are some limitations on your projector, and it doesn't fit with our laptop, and it doesn't fit actually with our back office design for this either. So the dashboard itself is slightly too big to be shown up there properly. So landing page looks at the main 10 areas that we've got that sits inside the gateway itself. So the standard things that most of you will see: performance, risk, audit actions, projects, all those good things, and a few other things on top. The landing page shows people exactly where they are on their performance at the moment. So if they're looking at 10 performance measures, then it shows them where they are on each one, how many are red, how many amber, how many are green, and exactly where they are on their update cycle. Everything in this dashboard fails red. So if at the end of a month people haven't input their updates, then the system fails red. It's a big incentive for people to get their stuff done, because this is actually, the actual board members themselves have this via their iPads. They actually see it live. Let's start with risk then, shall we? So, bog standard, quick report, all risks, yeah.
All in piano.
So, bog standard quick report sits inside here. This is our full risk register. This has got all 102 risks on it. These are not just the corporate or strategic or anything else. This is the full one here. As you can see across the page, on the left-hand side, first of all, we have a status for the risk. It's a system-generated status. The risk assurance that appears in the middle is an opinion. So the risk manager is entitled to their opinion, but it has no bearing on the status at all. So you'll see some things here where people say the controls are fully effective, but the status is actually red. It's an indication that people aren't necessarily doing the full management thing that they should be doing. If we Do we need to say anything more about that? Can you scroll to the right just to show? Here we are. Also from this, people can do a risk assurance update at this point side. So if you just flick up one of those forms, Adam. This just executes a standard form that you'll all see, a single update form. Okay, let's go back. And if we can find the gas risk, which is about the fourth or fifth one down, is it? Yeah, gas safety. You'll see a lot of our gas safety stuff in here. I've centred on this for everything in the presentation. Yeah, so we can drill into this risk. So this just shows us what's happened with this risk over the past period of times. This is actually a monthly thing, so we can see where it's been. And it's been predominantly red forever. People from this form, if you scroll back up to the top, I've got the option on here to add audit actions, or the whole pile of things that they can do with this, add a policy and amend a risk, add controls, what have you. If we go back now, Adam, to the... And we look at the controls for gas safety. So these are the controls we've got at the moment. And as you can see, controls themselves have a status and they also have an assurance, so the control owner can tell us what they think is going on. If they decide the control is actually failing, they're supposed to set up a task, whatever action it is they need to put in place to actually turn this green. As you can see, that second one down has got 3 tasks against it, 1 complete, 2 that are ongoing. But the task status is green, so that's fine. The tasks aren't due for completion yet. And because they've got tasks on there that are green, then the status has gone amber. If they had no tasks, then the status would be red. Yeah, that's fine. If we drill into those 2 tasks a moment. No, that's all right, don't worry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, go back, it's okay. Otherwise, never get everything in. We've also got audit actions associated. Oh, we haven't got, what's that one there? Measures. Yeah, we've got a whole pile of measures associated with this particular risk. And we have got a lot of measures associated with gas. We have just started a formal contract between our property investment and our property solutions people, so between the DLO and AMT, effectively, asset management. And there are a whole pile of contract measures that have just been set up and just being populated. So in order for this to ever go green, someone's got to get these measures all green. It's going to be an interesting few months, I think, where we have a bit of an argy-bargy about how many of those measures should really be there, how many are really important and how many aren't.
Anything else?
Yeah, is there any other? I can't remember anything else on that one. No. Those are the only things we've got associated with gas, so we've got no project associated with it and no audit actions currently that are there. But we do have something else associated with risk and with gas in particular, and that's around our health and safety system. We are trying for OSAS 18001 compliance. We've got a whole 40-odd health and safety risks that we have to get fully compliant on to try and achieve that. It's a massive overhead for our organisation, to be honest. If we go back into gas eventually.
You want to go into gas or what?
Yeah, it's about 96 one down, isn't it? It's on the 3rd, I think. There it goes. So for the OSAS 18001 compliance, each risk has about 12 headings that we've got to try and achieve. And under each heading, there are a number of either measures or controls or policies that we need to actually get compliant on. This rolls up its status in a slightly different way than risk does itself. This is all about the journey to achieving accreditation. So we don't need everything to be 100%. Accreditation on this is based around 75% completion. So our scores at the top around that 117 compliance score, and where we are actually now at the moment is 81, so we're 70% on the way we're achieving that for this gas one. And we've got to achieve this across all 42 strands. Yeah, so there's lots and lots and lots in here. Measures are obviously represented by a ruler, controls by a little control box, tasks by a tick box. Yeah, just show one of those on it. So from this point of view, from the actual owners of each of the scorecards, they can change things on here, just the standard forms that are executed. So you're basically editing the A and C records or doing an update. And if people need to, they can send an email either to us or to the health and safety manager to say, I don't agree with this, we need to change this control or this measure. These all get reported into our health and safety forums internally, which eventually then go up to the Audit and Risk Committee. Right, moving on from that, let's have a quick look at audit actions. So our internal audit team go around auditing things like they do and generating loads and loads of actions for people to get on and do. So there's something else people have got to do. Yeah. Actually, good point, Adam. The whole of this system is based around seeing what you need to see. So although this is set up for me at the moment, and I obviously haven't got much, so I end up seeing everything. If that makes sense. If I'm a manager in the organisation, this loads for them. So we have a feed from our HR system, and we build a full management hierarchy. We know from AD who's logged into the system. We marry the two together, and the system behind the scenes says, okay, you've got X audit actions and X performance measures. We're only going to show you your things. You can see everything else if you want to, but we load in the default way for you. And if you happen to be a senior manager, you have the option for looking at what your staff are up to or not up to, as the case may be, as well. So I haven't got much to do, so I'm lucky within the organisation. This looks at our audit actions. So this is basically a summary that goes to the Audit and Risk Committee to say, where are we on the things that we have promised that we're going to do to put the risks right, basically. And as you can see, we've got 2 in there that are red. It's a simple check between how many actions should be completed by this point in time and how many have we done. Again, so it's not an opinion, it's an actual have you done it or haven't you done it check. Enough on audit actions, I feel. What am I going to do? Oh, we're going to look at projects quickly, yes. We have our corporate projects on here as well. Yeah. So again, this information goes to the board and to the internal performance panel. Lists all the projects. This isn't projects as it comes out of the box with Corvu. This is actually linking into risks in the background as well. So we've got project risks associated with each of the projects. We've got an issues log, which is based on performance measures, I think. Or it might be projects. Projects is based on, don't be so silly. And the budget at the moment is a manual input process, but our next phase is to actually integrate it into the finance system and pull the project budget straight through. So if we drill into
Gas? Which one do you want?
gas, if it's there, I don't think it is it?
Right, okay. Which one do you want?
Oh, is that the full list?
Yeah.
Like
Do customer service.
Yeah, we'll do customer service. Right, so the project comprises the measures, the risks and the issues, measures, milestones. So as you can see from this, we've got a whole pile of milestones in here. This is not a project management system as such, it's a project tracking system. So this is based largely on opinion. The only bit that's not is the milestone delivery. Have you done it or haven't you done it? No one gets this option of saying, we're 90% of the way through it, where the next 10% takes 90% of the time. So it's a black and white approach to stuff. We highlight where people haven't done their updates, where they should have done. Again, that fails red. Yeah. And then just the major risks around the project as well. This is not designed to be a replacement for Microsoft Project. It's just the reporting top end, so people skim off the major milestones and the major risks. If people are running big projects, they're expected to do it properly. Yeah, obviously if people have put issues into here, then it would have affected the status. So anywhere you've got an issue in place, it would turn the status amber. Same way if you've got risks in there and the risks aren't being controlled properly, it would change the status from green to amber or red. That's the project side. Most of those projects will be connected into a risk somewhere down the line. Otherwise, why are we doing them? Yeah. Welfare reform obviously is one of the biggest things that's going to impact us going forward. So we're just in the process of building what I would call just a task list, basically, of all the things that have got to happen over the next 2 or 3 years to get welfare reform in place with a minimum amount of risk to the organisation. This is the sort of thing that this system has got loads of these in it, so this is just one example of many task lists that we've got rushing around the organisation. Now, they all form part of the corporate business plan. So some things appear as projects and some things don't. They appear as these lists instead. Yeah.
Testing still.
Yeah. So this is the process of our income manager's currently in the process of putting all the tasks in place for this. She built it originally on a spreadsheet and we've just imported it basically into here. Okay, moving on. Quick look at performance indicators. Again, this would load, if it was for someone with lots of indicators, with their indicators, not the list line. Yeah, go to performance panel. These are the ones that get reported internally to our performance panel. So we've got something like 40 go to the board, but 130 go internally to the panel. You can imagine a 2-hour panel meeting and 130 measures, they don't look at them all. It's a skim over the top of the ones that are out of control, basically.
I can't get to the right.
You can't get to the right.
No. Oh, right.
On the right-hand side, there'd be ability to update those measures and to drill into them and do all the rest of the things that you need to do. What we're going to do is just have a quick look at that top one. We can't drill into it, unfortunately, just show what's been happening with it. It's been read, I can tell you that before we start. It's been read for a long time. The page that sits behind this allows you to look at performance in various different ways. So you've got a monthly view, we've got a rolling 12 months view, you can look at it as a graph, as a RAG graph, you can look at it as a data table, and we have the ability to flip between all of those views on drawdown. And linked to it is the management information as well. So this is thank you, this is the management information page that is in the old style. This actually is a portfolio. We're in the process of just transferring that into the new structure. But basically, so if you're looking at your performance measure, you can see your MI that goes with it, and that gives you a chance of doing something about it. Where are my problems? What's actually going on? What do I need to do to put it right? Also linked to this would be a measure improvement plan. Our board decided some months ago that if something's being read for 3 months, or shows declining performance for 3 months or more, there must be a formal action plan in place to put it right. It's no good people just putting in their commentary saying, oh, we're doing things to put this right. They actually want to see what you're doing, when it's going to be achieved by, so they can actually monitor the performance on that. Sickness is one of those strange things that is owned by our HR department, but needs to be managed by the managers concerned. Enough on performance. Also in here to give people a chance to look at the totality of their responsibilities, are things called topic hubs. So although you might be a manager, one of our area office managers, for instance, manages one of the offices, they've got a general responsibility for performance in that area. They will also have portfolios. So you might have a portfolio for ASB or for income or whatever it might be. So we have what we call subject-specific hubs in here. We're going to look at the gas one, funnily enough. Now, gas spans two areas of our business, obviously the property investment stroke asset management team and the delivery side through our property solutions people. So within the hub, we've got two dashboards. We'll look at AMT first. It'll take a little while to load because it's loading up a vast amount of data behind the scenes. So at the very top, we end up with a summary of saying, where are we with all of this? Are we on top of everything? It gives people a very quick indication of whether they need to go any further or not. If everything on the top of this is green, no one goes any further whatsoever. They just stop. In this case, we've got one indicator that's gone red. A lot of the things we do in our systems here are around management of processes or management of controls or reconciliation type reports. So we have a vast, this whole system links into 20 odd systems behind the scenes. And we have a whole process that says our housing system will start off a repair job or a gas servicing job. Our asset management system will do something with that on the way through. That gets loaded into our sort of total repairs and servicing system. And we end up having to reconcile between the three systems to make sure everything's kept in step. So our red indicator here is saying that within the asset management systems, there's a difference between the servicing module and the asset management module itself. So there's probably one property in there, maybe two, that have somehow got out of step or in the process of having their status changed. Perhaps we've sold them, perhaps we've demolished them, but both systems aren't in step yet. Right, so at the top, say the summary of where we are. No one needs to go any further. A couple of graphs after that, which actually represent the measures going to the board. As you can see, our history here hasn't been very good. In fact, the chief exec had to put his hand up at one point in time and say, whoa, we've just found 25 properties that have got gas in them and we haven't been servicing them, which was a bit of a worry. And Adam and I spent nearly 12 months of our life writing reports around the back end of this to get it right. We have got, how many? 50 or 60 reports that sit behind this to give people a chance. Now, no one is looking at 50 or 60 reports, which is why the dashboard's so important. They only go to the reports behind this once they get an indicator that something's not working properly. And we track everything, and most of it's around process. Even to the point where we couldn't actually produce at one point in time evidence that we'd actually gone out and serviced all the properties that we should have in terms of the LGSR, the physical document that says we've actually been out there, we've given it to the tenant. We could see from our servicing system that we had gone out there, but there was no evidence of the gas certificate itself in existence. Not true now. As you can see from that left-hand side, we've been fully compliant for some time now, but the history still sits there. This also gives people a chance to say, where are we in terms of our no access procedure? Have we got to the point yet where we run on a 10-month cycle? So within the 12 months, we've run on a 10-month servicing cycle. We should have virtually nothing that's been done in months 11 and 12. But obviously we have stuff that's running out because we can't get into the properties. So asset management can track what's happening on the property solutions side. So there's lots more things behind this that allow me to that. If we have a quick look at the property solutions dashboard around this. They obviously don't look at the same thing. They have a slightly different way of looking at things on this side. So they're much more process-driven in terms of what's happening around the servicing cycle itself. What have we got to do this month? What's outstanding next month? Where are we in that no access procedure? Is it still with us, or has it been handed off to housing? Yeah, all of these have drill-ins to look at the detail that sits behind it. All of this stuff used to be on portfolios, and we had a nightmare in the end trying to maintain 120 dashboards built with portfolio. What sits around this now basically is a bit of HTML. That's all, we just transferred it across. It allows us to have one dashboard that is completely tunable to the individuals concerned. Yeah, go on, click into it. So we've got a number of contracts. So this monitors those contract performance indicators that sit behind the scenes. So this is where we have sort of our RAG graphs that sit in place. And off this, this is where you can flick around between the different views of life. And all these pages are all the same. People have the same level of functionality of each one of them. Yeah. So we'll have a quick look at the income dashboard. Topic app, what you want to call it. Let's look at the dashboard again. So this is just around income. This is one of the first areas in the housing area that we've actually put together. This allows the income officers to see where they are, so that this reports out by the area office and the arrears manager concerned. And again, they can drill into the data off this. They can basically do whatever they want to from this. So we know who's in arrears. We know what they're doing about it. Enough on that. Yeah, so there's a whole pile of reports on the back of that as well. If we go to the last couple of things we want to talk about on here, first of all, reports, the reports section. We're not going to drill into this unless it's there. Every single report we've got, and there are hundreds and hundreds of them, are accessible off here. People get the ability, when they go onto this system, to pick out which of those are their favourites. It's a simple sort of drop down, click the box, those are the ones they see. They've got access to everything else, but their favourites will load into the U section of the reporting part. I don't want to go into any of that, so we need to go admin documentation. What pulls this all together in terms of people being able to do their favourites and picking the reports that they want and everything else that goes with associations with that is around a documentation system. This is built in CoreView, it's built in CoreStrat. It's built as a separate service. We were a bit stupid. It took us a long time to work out the fact you could have as many services running as you wanted to. Eventually, when we did get there, we've generated a number of systems within the system itself, one of which is the documentation system. This documents everything that we've built with CoreView. So all of our reports should be in here, not quite all there yet, but all of our portfolios, all of our schedules are all in here with the ability for us to know what's on what. So what reports appear where, which schedules are they in, do they appear on the old portfolio pages, are they on the new system yet, with a full description and an owner and a sign-off. So our whole new process is that we won't put anything live anymore until someone has actually signed it off within the system itself. We have had, I'll put my hand up and admit, a lot of criticism because obviously the CoreView reports are wrong. Actually, they're not wrong. That's the data that's in the system. And that's your data, not ours. But the reports are wrong. So now we say, we're not putting anything live until you've signed it off. It's made people focus a bit more, take a bit more responsibility. So from that point of view, it's been quite good. And finally, and Adam will hate me for this, can we have a quick look at risk?
Risk?
Not risk, at complaints.
Complaints?
Yeah. This, by the way, is the old dashboard structure. This is built completely on portfolios. There are hundreds and hundreds of pages within this. We're going to have a quick look at our complaint system, which we haven't quite moved to the new format yet. And I'm doing this as an example of what we did have, and the fact that we were stupid. We should have built this in the new service, and we didn't. We built it in Core Strat itself.
You can get around this, can't you?
So we record all the types of, go to the coordinators page. We record all the types of complaints that come into our organisation, whether they be a level 0 complaint, which is an informal request for action basically, or a formal complaint itself, an MP inquiry or a councillor's inquiry, and also within here we record any compliments that we actually get as well. So just scroll to no, we can't scroll to the bottom of that. Oh, right, okay, yeah. So we just have a summary on the front page of where we are with the current complaints that are open around the place. If our chief exec looks at this morning, he's going to go completely bonkers because we've got some red complaints, so they are overdue for response. It's not something that our chief exec likes. So someone's in for a bit of a roasting today, I think. Yeah. That essentially brings me to the end. That is a very quick whistle-stop around our business assurance approach to dashboarding. There is lots more inside this system than we're showing at the moment. People access it straight off the desktop. There's what's called a performance gateway icon, and it goes straight into there, and they can see this. And we do have two sorts of people in the organisation. In my head, we have compliance people, and we have people who manage the system. People who manage it go into the system and use it like this. The compliance people go to their update page, and it just gives them a snapshot of the things they need to update for the current period that we're in, and that's what they do. And that's why we end up with a situation with some risks where they say, everything's fine, the assurance is great, the actual status is red. It's because they haven't gone and looked. But our new chief exec has been in place for about 12 months now, is gradually getting people into the right place. It's been bliss for Adam and I that eventually this is being taken seriously. So, any questions? Have I bored you enough? Excellent. Oh, sorry, Harry.
Does this move? And you say you've got, you say you've got hundreds of reports. How long have you been using Rocket, and how long has it taken you to achieve those hundreds of reports, or did you migrate them from another system?
2010, January we had the system in. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. I think it's 2010. And if you take out the first 2 years, which we binned, so since about 2012 we've been doing this for real. And our initial approach was we had BI query sitting over our capital housing system. And one of the first things we did was basically to migrate all of those existing reports into here, which was a cut and paste of the SQL, to be absolutely honest. Now, I don't think any of those reports really exist anymore. They've all been replaced since, and probably several times. As things change over time, we have new codes coming in. I wish the business would stay steady for any length of time, but it hasn't. We've had, in the 6 years I've been here, we've had 6 reorganisations. So that's why I say the first 2 years we just binned, because we got core strategy in, we built a management hierarchy off it, and as soon as we built it, it's no longer valid. Which is why everything we now do is based around the HR system, and it dynamically builds a management structure for us, so that people can't wipe out all of our work.
It all sounds remarkably familiar, actually.
Yeah. Anything else? Yeah. Oh, come on, Richard, you've seen this all before.
Ah.
You say you've been working on this 3 years. How many people have been working on this to get to where you are now?
Adam and I. That's it. Just the two of us.
Full time?
Yeah, full time, absolutely, yeah. But don't forget, it's all the reporting that's done in the business. We have little or no self-service reporting across our two major systems. The housing system and the repair system have nothing that end users can use. And our repair system, we used to have a business analyst that did everything in crystal reports and sent that out to people. We've rewritten the whole of that in the Corfu system. It has been a nightmare. It's been intense. Adam and I keep thinking we'll stop in a minute and we'll have time to look at what we do. We hold our hands up and admit that we do half a job. We're under so much pressure for getting stuff out there. We've done it, we've put it out there, and we know there's faults out there. We know things haven't been fully tested. We know there's some functionality missing. But the business just put so much pressure on us to get things done that we just do it and then we fix it when someone's noticed it's broken. All right.
I feel your pain on that last one. Yeah, so with all those reports you've done, there's a hell of a lot. Do you have a way of kind of checking who's looking at them? Do you have some kind of a...
Yes. Funny enough, I missed that out, didn't I?
Well, I'm just curious because I thought, if nobody's looking at some of them, you can start thinking, are they still relevant? Or do they need updating? Or do we just chop them all together?
Yeah, well, there's two things associated with that. One is that our housing system is just moving up to a new version, and it's got a fundamental change. It's built on Ingress, and the Ingress, unfortunately, at release 10, loses decode. It uses it as a reserve word. So every single one of our reports that uses a decode field anyway had to be rewritten. So we've just done a massive exercise across the business and say, we're not rewriting nearly 1,000 reports because this is just a joke. So every business unit has gone through and checked out the things they don't need. But we also installed something called Core Tracker, which allows us to see, it doesn't show us everything that's going on, but it shows us enough of what's going on to give us an indication of what's being used and when. So we're getting 500 to 600 hits a day across all of this, all the stuff that's going on, and we can see which of those reports are the most hit ones that we, can see going on around the place. Yeah. So you can see nearly 3,000 around the emergency. One of the big things that happens in our property solutions area is that the repair system is so poor that they cannot easily see which emergency jobs are coming in. So we have a live report on Coreview which they use to allow them to say, oh, these emergency jobs are coming in, now I'll go to the repair system and allocate these out to someone to do, because it's easier to find them that way than to wade through what they've got in front of them on total. A lot of the things that we do are based around the inadequacies of both the repairs and the housing systems. And we've actually got an internal ICT project that's looking at replacing that in the next 18 months. Which means that half this won't work then, we'll have to do it all over again. We look forward to it. But at least then there'll be better self-help reporting elements within any new system that we get. Yeah.
Just wondering if there's a way to bring some of the key elements of the different reports together. So you might see some of the key performance issues alongside some of the key risk issues, alongside the project stuff and some of the budget stuff. Only
through that initial risk quick report, which has all the things linked to it, so you can see which elements have gone red, and then you can drill into those to see if it's a performance measure or a project or the audit actions or the policy itself that's gone out of time. So that's the only element that we use in there. A lot of our reports bring a number of different systems together anyway. So we can see, because we're doing a lot of process tracking, so we can see whether it's the housing system or the servicing system or the scheduling system that's causing us a problem.
I saw you've got quite a list of daily schedules that run. Are they running automatically on your server?
Yeah, through Windows Scheduler. We actually have 3 schedules that run every hour during the day, because a lot of the dashboard stuff is, we can't run it live, there's too much information on there. So we actually run a schedule every hour to do an update on that so people can see that their updates have actually gone in. It drives people nuts. People complain that they've done their updates and they're not showing. They can't wait long enough for it to update for them. And on this new system, we're looking at a way of actually running that live. Is there some way we can actually trim everything back so it does actually run live?
So, sorry, you said you were using the Windows scheduler, not the core business?
Well, we use the Windows scheduler to execute BAT files.
BAT files, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess then the last thing for us to say is that we're currently part of the beta trial for Windows Discover 1.5. So that's one of the things we're looking to integrate into this as well. And to see whether it's appropriate that our end users can use it for dashboarding purposes. So if anyone's been doing that, we'd be glad to talk to you later. Or NG, actually, yeah. If not, that's finished then. Thank you.
Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's all yours.
Sorry, do you think?
Yeah, no, there's a couple more, but...
Okay. Right, good morning everybody. My name is Norman Tomset. I'm a data analyst in the data intelligence team here at Worcestershire County Council. And despite the fact that most of them are here, I've been left to press my own buttons. By way of context, Richard Harling, our Director of Adult Services and Health, has a dream. It's been communicated to the back room where we have reclassified it as a nightmare. In his view, whether it's on a plasma screen, a tablet, or on their phone at the Waitrose deli counter, the social work manager of the future will have access to a map of Worcestershire. On request, a particular health or social care facility or statistic will be displayed. In this case, it's residential homes. Then, on demand, any aspect of these care homes' current state can then be displayed. In this case, it's available beds. When a client is assessed as needing care, they will appear on that screen, and then by means of a simple swipe, the client will be moved from their position of needing care into a residential home, which will kick off the process of raising purchase orders, booking transport to get them there, and any future social work activity. It may be that Rocket are unveiling such a thing in their session this afternoon, but in the meantime, what we've done in Worcestershire is taken some aspects of that, a few steps in the right direction, and created an operational dashboard. The aim is to triangulate workload, availability and cost of staff to provide an overview of client progress through what we call the customer journey, and a means of identifying any bottlenecks, with the ultimate intention of providing information in such real time that resources can be redeployed to sort out any bottlenecks that might be appearing. Like Merlin, we are collecting our data from various sources into a Rocket database, and as was mentioned at the end, because this is real time, we're also going off and fetching at regular intervals throughout the day up-to-date information from our live Framework I system, which is the social care system. These little green men and women up here, they do actually represent the gender of the client in the queue, and they're green or red based on where they are, how long they've been in that stage, relating to some local timeliness limits. The lines do concertina out, in and out, depending on how many are each stage during the day, and it does provide an impactful overview of the workload for the whole of social services. The lady at the far left, wearing a football shirt, David Beckham's, I believe, shows that we can put further information on each figure should we want to, case reference or whatever. One thing we have done just for this demo purposes is, if you click on the referral stage, getting towards Richard Harling's idea, you can tell from there where all the referrals have been throughout that day. Clicking on the red people will take you to a list of the incomplete referrals. And here what we've done is, although the referral hasn't been completed, we've included any work that's happening further down the line so that Richard Harling or any of the social work team managers can have a look at this and say, well, Mr. 271 has clearly gone on and had some services purchased, we don't need to look at it, whereas Mr. 848, who's been there since the 17th of September, is clearly stuck for some particular reason and needs further investigation. Clicking on the assessment stage label takes us to an overview of all the teams. Now, this is of particular interest, obviously, to Richard Harling and his senior managers, and if they want to, they can then click on one of the pie charts, and it will take them to a flat version of the detailed workload report. The social work team managers, when they come in, won't get that high-level overview by default. They will get a much more detailed level at their own request, and I think they're already beginning to regret what they've requested. They want to know exactly what other work is in their team so that Richard Harling gets a fair view of what they've got at hand. Already this dashboard is having good effect, even though it's not going live till the end of this month. And in the demos to the social work team managers, we've been able to do some myth busting, because they've been saying for years that there's a what's called an episode in Framework I of a current user contact or a respond to contact, which could be anything. It could be could be somebody phoning in to say, I've arranged a phone call from a social worker and I'll be out for the afternoon, or it could be masses of detail about the case. You can never tell how important it is. But they've been saying for years that they are snowed under by them. But in fact, if you look, there's only a dozen in this team, and it is actually quite a small part of their workload. The other thing it's shown is that there's things like a contact assessment, which is the very top line in the little green men we showed at the start. Now, they shouldn't be going through to assessment teams. They should be at the referral stage only. So clearly there's examples of incorrect workflow going on as well. So this caused a little frisson of excitement when I demonstrated to the social work team managers last week, because it is lifting the lid, shining a torch, whatever expression you might use, on some of their more dodgy practices that they've been able to hide for years. The other thing he wants to know is, of these referrals on the top line, what happens to them immediately after they're processed? And this just gives a high-level breakdown of the referrals so far this year. And what he would like to see there is the needs assessment, which is people going in for potential long-term or certainly medium-term care. He would like to see that 1450 reducing, and a demonstration that signposting to another organisation or urgent care activity is increasing, because we need to be able to use our partner organisations better, and also our teams that are set up to obviate the need for long-term social care. Again, the ASH dashboard, back on the home page, what we've got here are two areas. One is a perceived bottleneck, and one is an area of great interest to a third party. Again, they just go off to flat data. I won't click on, I haven't prepared a slide to show you that. But the CCA team stands for Client Contribution Assessment, and no client should reach the point of service delivery without having an indication of whether they will be required to pay towards the cost of their care. This is a perceived bottleneck, and much blame is heaped on the heads of the CCA team for holding things up. But again, what we've been able to show is that social work team themselves are actually sitting on a lot of these requests. They create the request in the social care system and then forget about it, whereas there is a final stage of sending it to the CCA team, and there's a lot of them creating hold-ups by that route rather than the CCA team themselves. And the urgent activity button takes us to information about the work of what is known as the Urgent Promoting Independence team, which works with a combined NHS and County Council initiative called the Patient Flow Centre, or PFC, which is a market leader in getting people out of hospital and cutting down on that dreadful phrase, bed blockers. This gives us access to a real-time report which is displayed on plasma screens in the Patient Flow Centre and in the acute hospitals' bed managers' offices. So if somebody phones up in a state of excitement and tells Richard Harling that social care are holding up 25 beds, he can click on that, see exactly the interactions between the hospitals and the social work teams, and defend himself or hold his hands up, whichever would be the appropriate thing. Team managers get their information about CCA issues in a different way. So we've replaced the CCA button with a My Alerts button. Again, I'm not going to bother with that because it's flat data. And this takes the user to a page which will give them, on a daily basis, information which currently we send out automatically by email from our existing SSRS system, normally on a Monday or a Friday, about such things as interim packages of care, which are potential very expensive packages put in to help someone get out of hospital or prevent them from going into hospital, and which should be strictly time limited. So they'll get alerts about that on a daily basis. And things like the CCA referrals that are sat in their team and no one's pressed the finish button. They'll get all those presented on their desktop on a daily basis, save them having to wait till Friday. I've written down here one version of the truth. What we were very conscious about is we have hundreds of reports, but most of them are in SSRS at the moment. And we were very conscious that we didn't want to introduce another version of the truth. So what we're going to use is the code from those SSRS reports, run them in Framework I, and then import them into Rocket to be presented in that fashion. Another strand that Richard wants is quite reasonably an overview of where his budget stands at any one point. For a number of reasons relating to the way we currently do our budgeting, this is not possible, not yet achievable, but as a step in the right direction, Nikki over there has created a very comprehensive finance dashboard extracting data from Framework I and again reporting from Rocket on a daily basis. And then the final bit of the triangulation I mentioned right at the start is also currently not achievable, but there is extensive work going on to make it so at the moment, and that's the HR data. And we're getting information here from SAP and a system called Merlin, which deals with agency staff. So from SAP we're getting the finance data and the substantive posts, and Merlin, we're getting agency staff on the right-hand end. Ultimately, we will probably put that on the front end so that Richard can come in, have a look, and just see this triangulation straight. But at the moment, we've had to shift it off the front page because there are still developments to be made. That's all I have to say on our operational dashboard. Are there any questions? Well, I could have gone for the full half an hour.
Come here. What did you build the dashboard in?
NG, version 3.2.
Oh, great. How long does that take to develop?
I would say about a week to get the basics done, and then quite a long time doing fiddling and fettling, whatever you might want to call it.
Thank you.
Sorry? I have. We should have left the men dancing, shouldn't I? We've done a version, because the green men and women look like river dance, we have done a version where they do actually dance. I should have included that.
I've got a question, if you don't mind. This Richard person seems to be using it a lot, or wanting to. How do the rest of the staff buy into it and use it?
Well, I think they are going to buy into it because they've been forced to, really, because they know he's going to look at it. Very little of the information we're putting in here isn't information they've had access to for a long time. But what they've tended to do is use it on a bitty way. So they will look at a particular type of episode they're interested in, see how many of those there are, deal with that. They've never really taken to dashboards, although we've tried in the past. But now Richard Harling is taking an interest. It's focusing their minds as well. So, I say it's already in demo form, has produced some good results. So we have great hopes for it going forward.
I think I'm right in saying, I'm sure one of the team will correct me if I'm not, that although this has been developed for the adult social care team, our children's social care team are very interested in it as well now, because it's a very similar sort of area. Obviously, how many clients we've got in, how those clients are progressing through the system, where there are blockages, where the high cost spend is, because obviously as with everyone else, massive savings to be made. Social care is a very expensive area. It's an area where demographics say we could just keep spending till our budgets are completely gone and still not make a dent. So having information in one place where we can manage both the client flow but also where the blocks are, how expensive those clients are, the geographic information is something that the Council is very, very keen on. So although this is an adults development to start with, I think it will very quickly roll out across the children's area as well.
It is being demoed to the children's leadership team this Wednesday. It's not going to be a straight move, because their workflow is obviously slightly different within Framework I, but it should be quite easy. Have I left you with a hole in your agenda?
No, it's absolutely fine. No, you turn off.